Have you ever noticed how some people don't have to say much? Yet everyone listens when they speak. They walk into a room, and it's like the air subtly changes. People turn, conversations pause, and attention quietly shifts toward them, not because they're loud or flashy, but because their presence carries weight. You can't quite explain it, but you feel it. And you respect it. That's not luck. That's not status. That's psychology. There's a rare kind of energy some people carry, one that naturally earns respect without asking for it. It's not about dominance or showing off. It's about understanding how the human mind recognizes strength and calm authority. And that's exactly what we're about to explore. 7 powerful psychological hacks to earn instant respect. Because respect isn't something you demand from others. It's something you quietly teach them to give you, through your behavior, your energy, and your silence. Welcome to Be Feminine, the channel where we decode human psychology, attraction, emotion, confidence, everything that shapes how people perceive you and respond to you. If you're new here, subscribe and stay till the end, because once you understand how respect really works, people will never see you the same way again. So let's begin with the first psychological hack, the one that silently separates powerful people from everyone else. 1. The power of stillness. Have you ever been around someone who never rushes? They don't talk over others. They don't fidget. They don't react instantly to everything. They're just calm. But that calmness isn't weakness. It's command. In psychology, stillness is perceived as dominance. The human brain subconsciously links fast, restless behavior with insecurity. But when someone moves slowly, speaks calmly, and controls their emotions, the brain reads it as status. It's ancient wiring in every group. The leader moves the least. Think about it. When you're nervous, your movements are quick. You talk faster, gesture more, over-explain. But when you're confident, you don't rush to fill the silence. You own the silence. That's what powerful people do. They don't chase reactions. They don't explain themselves to be understood. They let others adjust to their rhythm. And that rhythm, that steady emotional pulse, commands respect without effort. Try this the next time you talk to someone. Before responding, pause for 2 seconds. Just breathe. Don't rush to fill the gap. That small pause is a psychological weapon. It shows your mind isn't ruled by the moment you control it. And here's the fascinating part. People around you will start mirroring your calmness. Their voices will lower. Their words will slow down. Because subconsciously, they're syncing to your energy, the one in control. Women feel this even more strongly. In female psychology, stillness equals safety. A man who isn't emotionally chaotic feels trustworthy and grounded. His composure signals maturity, a quiet kind of strength that draws people in, not through fear, but through stability. But don't confuse stillness with coldness. You're not being distant, you're being present. You're showing the world that your emotions are not up for negotiation. That's real control. When you master stillness, you stop needing to prove anything. You stop reacting to every word or challenge. And that alone changes how people treat you. Respect begins when others realize you don't break easily. When you remain calm in moments others would lose control, you rise above them without saying a word. That's the power of stillness. It's not a tactic. It's a message. A message that says, I'm in control of myself, and because of that, I can't be controlled by you. And that's when people start to respect you instantly, instinctively, deeply. Stay with me, because what comes next takes this power even further. When you combine stillness with the next 2 psychological principles, you'll not only earn respect, you'll radiate authority in every situation you walk into. Now that you understand the power of stillness, let's move to something just as important, the language of the eyes. Because what your eyes do in silence often says more about you than your words ever could. Second, control your eye. Contact. Eye contact is one of the most misunderstood forms of communication. Some people avoid it, completely afraid to make others uncomfortable. Others overdo it, thinking constant staring shows confidence. But true respect lies in balance. When you maintain calm, steady eye contact, you communicate one thing: presence. You're not desperate for validation. You're not trying to intimidate. You're simply there. In psychology, we call this anchoring gaze, when your eyes hold another person's for just long enough to create connection, but not so long that it becomes a power struggle. It shows you're focused, emotionally grounded, and unshaken. Here's a secret. The brain reads calm eye contact as confidence, but it reads excessive staring as threat or insecurity, and it reads avoidance as submission. So the next time you speak with someone, practice this. Look them in the eyes as you make your point. Then glance away naturally, maybe at their hands, the floor, or the side, before returning your gaze. This rhythm tells their subconscious mind, I see you, I respect you, but I'm not performing for you. And when your energy communicates that balance, people start responding differently. They lean in more, they soften their tone. They feel the calm in your presence, and that calmness earns you quiet authority. Women notice it instantly. In female psychology, eye contact carries emotional charge. A man who can look at her without nervous energy or neediness communicates strength and trustworthiness. It's not about dominance, it's about emotional steadiness. She'll remember how your gaze felt, not what you said. And that memory becomes association. Calm equals respect. But this doesn't just apply to women. In every interaction, friends, co-workers, strangers, the way you hold your gaze defines the space between you. It's the silent handshake of confidence. Remember, you don't need to win the stare. You just need to own the moment. Because when you control your eye contact, you control attention, and attention is the first step to respect. Now that your eyes are aligned with confidence, it's time to focus on your voice, the next layer of psychological power. 3. Speak slowly with precision. Here's something most people never realize. The way you speak affects how much people believe you. Not what you say, how you say it. Fast speech signals anxiety. It tells the brain you're unsure, that you're chasing approval. But when you slow down, not dramatically, just enough to sound deliberate, people instantly start to listen differently. In psychology, this effect is tied to perceived authority bias. We automatically assume slow, clear speakers are more confident, more intelligent, and more trustworthy, because they sound like they know. Think of the people you've respected most in life, the ones whose words stayed with you. They never rushed. They allowed silence between their sentences. They didn't fill the air with noise, they filled it with presence. Try it. The next time you're explaining something, speak just 15% slower than usual. Pause between key points. Lower your tone slightly. That simple change does something profound. It activates what psychologists call mirror pacing. The other person unconsciously starts matching your rhythm. They calm down, their breathing slows, their mind opens. And when someone's body language mirrors yours, they start respecting your emotional authority without even realizing it. This is why great leaders don't just speak, they transmit energy. They know that tone, pace, and silence matter more than words. Because emotion is contagious. And if your energy says, I'm calm, certain, and unshakable, people will absorb that energy and reflect it back. There's another subtle layer here. When you speak slowly, you give your mind time to think. That control over your words becomes control over your emotions. And that's real power. In relationships, it works like magic. When a woman sees you speaking calmly, without tension or nervous filler words, it triggers a deep psychological reaction. Her brain interprets your tone as safety. It tells her, this man won't lose control. This man can handle pressure. And that feeling of safety instantly converts into respect. But don't confuse slow with dull. Add small variations, a slight emphasis here, a quiet pause there to keep your delivery alive. You're not dragging your words, you're guiding attention. Because the truth is, people don't remember what you said, they remember how you made them feel while you said it. So when you speak, treat your words like gold. Spend them carefully, because the less you waste, the more value they carry. By now, you've probably started to notice a pattern. Stillness, eye contact, voice, they all come back to the same root: emotional control. People respect those who control their energy, not those who try to control others. And once you've mastered these first three principles, you'll feel it in how people respond: quieter rooms, longer gazes, softer tones. That's the invisible power of respect. What comes next will build on this. We'll go into the next layer of psychological gravity: boundaries, emotional consistency, and the art of quiet dominance. Because when you combine these with what you've learned so far, you don't just get respect, you become the standard for it. When you begin to master your stillness, your eyes and your voice, people start sensing something different about you. They can't quite explain it, but they feel it. It's not loud confidence, it's quiet certainty. And that's when you move into the next level of psychological control, the part that separates people who are liked from those who are respected. Fourth, set boundaries without explaining them. Most people think setting boundaries means long speeches, emotional explanations, or defending your reasons. But that's not power, that's persuasion. And respect never comes from explaining yourself too much. The strongest people in the world, emotionally and psychologically, don't justify their limits. They simply have them. When someone crosses your line, you don't owe them a lecture. You owe yourself discipline. The moment you feel the need to over-explain your no, you subconsciously signal uncertainty. And the human brain reads uncertainty as weakness. Psychologically, people test your boundaries not because they hate you, but because they're trying to find your edges. They want to know where your self-respect begins. Here's a truth most people miss. Respect doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being clear. If you say no, mean it. If you say you'll walk away, walk away. If someone disrespects you once, don't invite them to do it again. Boundaries are the walls that hold your self-worth together. Without them, your energy leaks and people feel that. Think about the people who've always held your respect. They didn't argue, shout, or overreact. They simply didn't tolerate nonsense. And they didn't need to prove why. This is called silent authority, when your behavior communicates strength so clearly that words become unnecessary. And there's something deeply attractive about that, especially to women. A man who can calmly walk away from disrespect is not cold, he's emotionally mature. He's not trying to control anyone, he's controlling himself. The feminine mind is wired to respect a man who values his energy. Because self-respect signals emotional safety, and emotional safety is rare. So remember this rule. Never explain your boundaries to someone who already knows they're crossing them. Just enforce them quietly, consistently, confidently. That's silence. That's self-assuredness. That's what people remember. That's what makes them think twice before crossing you again. Because when you respect yourself openly, others have no choice but to follow your example. Now that you've learned how to protect your space, it's time to build your presence. Because presence, not status, not money, is what earns instant respect. 5. Keep your emotions steady in chaos. This one might be the hardest, but it's also the most powerful. Respect is emotional currency, and people will always give it to the person who seems hardest to shake. When you stay calm under pressure, when you don't react to provocation, when your energy remains steady, even when others lose theirs, you instantly elevate yourself above the noise. There's a psychological concept called emotional contagion. It means emotions are contagious. We absorb the emotional state of those around us. When you stay calm, you don't just look strong, you make others feel safe. Their nervous system syncs to yours, and suddenly they start trusting your stability more than their own emotions. That's why emotional control is so magnetic. It's not about suppression, it's about mastery. When someone yells, stay measured. When life throws chaos, breathe slowly. When others panic, speak softly. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've trained your emotions to serve you, not control you. In male-female dynamics, this creates an undeniable pull, because the feminine energy, by nature, is emotional, flowing, ever-changing. And when she meets masculine calm, the kind that doesn't get triggered, doesn't lose focus, she feels grounded. She respects it, because it represents strength she can lean into. That's the kind of respect that doesn't just last a moment. It shapes how people treat you permanently. And here's the truth few talk about. Respect is not earned through perfection. It's earned through emotional consistency. Anyone can be calm when things are easy. Few can stay calm when things fall apart. But the man who can do that, who can face chaos with grace, who can smile while others frown, who can think clearly when emotions run high, becomes someone others instinctively look to for stability. That's the essence of real power. You don't need to demand respect when you embody it. People just start treating you differently. They lower their tone when they speak to you. They listen more, interrupt less. Because you've created an emotional field that commands it quietly, naturally, effortlessly. So when life tests you next time, and it will remember, your reaction defines your reputation. Your calm is your command. Because the moment you realize you don't need to prove yourself to anyone, that's the moment you finally become someone everyone respects. When you've mastered calmness, boundaries, and emotional steadiness, you start noticing something almost strange. People begin to mirror you. They speak softer around you. They become more careful with their words. They feel your presence even before you say anything. That's not coincidence. That's psychological dominance built on emotional maturity. Now, as we move toward the final two principles, remember these aren't tricks. They're shifts in energy that permanently change how people see you. And the next one might be the most misunderstood of all. Sixth, speak less, observe more. In a world obsessed with talking, the person who listens holds the power, because silence isn't weakness, it's analysis. When you stay quiet, people reveal themselves. They fill the silence with truth they didn't plan to share. They try to impress you, persuade you, explain themselves to you all while you're just watching. That's how you learn what kind of person you're dealing with, not through their words, but through what slips between them. Psychologists call this verbal leakage, the unintentional truths hidden in someone's speech patterns, tone, and micro-expressions. But you can only catch them if you're not busy talking. Every great leader, every deeply respected man knows this. Listening creates mystery, and mystery creates respect. Because when people can't read you, they start respecting you more, not less. The truth is, constant talking is often a form of insecurity. We speak to fill space, to prove we belong, to gain approval. But the one who's already secure doesn't need to fill anything. His silence says, I'm not here to perform. I'm here to understand. And that simple mindset changes the entire dynamic. People start leaning in, searching for your reaction, wondering what you're thinking. That's the psychological magnetism of restraint. Even in relationships, silence builds intrigue. A woman might test you with words, with emotion, with tension. But the man who listens with calm curiosity, who doesn't rush to defend himself or explain everything, disarms her completely, Because he's not reactive. He's in control of his focus, and focus is respect in motion. So here's your challenge. In your next conversation, talk 30% less and observe 70% more. Not just the words, the pauses, the breathing, the tension, the micro expressions. That's where truth hides. You'll notice something magical. People will start respecting your silence because they'll feel that you see more than you say. And the person who sees more than he says always holds the power. Now for the final and perhaps most powerful principle of all. It's the foundation of every other hack you've learned so far. 7. Lead with purpose, not ego. People don't respect you because you demand it. They respect you because your presence adds meaning. Purpose is the invisible force behind every truly respected man. When you have direction, when your actions serve something higher than approval, your energy changes completely. You stop chasing people. You stop reacting emotionally. You start radiating stability because you know why you exist. Psychology calls this self-determination theory the deep fulfillment that comes from autonomy, mastery, and purpose. When you act from that space, people subconsciously sense it. Your movements become intentional. Your words sound heavier. Even your silence feels like leadership. The truth is, most people live reactively, waiting for something to happen, waiting for someone to validate them. But when you move with a sense of purpose, when your life has mission, direction, and emotional discipline, you no longer seek respect. You become respect. It's not about being dominant or perfect. It's about being grounded, knowing who you are, where you're going, and why you won't compromise your integrity to get there. Women sense this deeply. They can tell when a man's energy comes from ego versus purpose. Ego shouts. Purpose whispers. Ego demands attention. Purpose earns it. Ego wants to win. Purpose wants to build. And the feminine mind always trusts the energy that builds. So ask yourself, what do you stand for when no one's watching? Because that answer determines how people treat you. You can't fake inner direction. It's something the world feels. When your choices align with your values, when you move with clarity instead of confusion, when your actions reflect strength, even in silence, people will follow you without you having to ask. That's real influence. That's real respect. Now pause for a moment. Think about everything we've uncovered. Stillness, eye contact, tone, boundaries, emotional steadiness, silence, purpose. These aren't random habits. They're layers of psychological armor designed to protect your energy while projecting quiet authority. Respect doesn't come from what you own, or how loud you speak, or how many people agree with you. It comes from how you make others feel when they're around you. And when your presence makes people feel grounded, calm, and slightly curious, you've already won the room without saying a word. Because in the end, respect isn't something you chase. It's something you become. If this episode spoke to you, if it made you rethink how you carry yourself, then it's time to put these principles into practice. Because respect starts from within. On this channel, Be Feminine, we explore the psychology behind power, attraction, and emotional depth, the invisible forces that shape human connection. If you found value here, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who's ready to evolve. And remember, the world doesn't respect noise, it respects presence. Until next time, stay calm, stay sharp, and always be feminine.